streamers have one particularly bad habit, and it is a bad habit that I've grown particularly fond of, because the moment you become aware of this particular habit is the moment you can unplug yourself from the matrix. You can see the meta for what it is, and you can actually get ahead. I also suffer from the same habit. I have to consciously overcome this innate instinct that we all have. And the problem I'm talking about here is that gamers in general don't like change. They don't like change happening around them, and they don't like changing themselves. This is aiming too, hold on, we gotta lift this up. This is aiming at my belly button. We gotta stop that. There we go. And if you need proof of this, by the way, next time you're hanging out with someone who maybe enjoys playing Halo, just casually bring up the fact that Halo should have a battle royale game type. It doesn't matter that it would take nothing away from the current 4v4 format. The argument against it is that it's not Halo. Halo would be different. This exact same problem manifests itself in gaming content, most commonly streaming. Like if you take a look at YouTube, just the vast array of YouTube, you go browse for a little bit, right? You'll find vlogging, you'll find robot building, you'll find short films, and on top of that, on YouTube every 2 to 3 years, the meta totally changes, the bar raises. It's never stagnant over there. But on Twitch, not only do 99% of all streams look nearly identical, but in the 7 years that I've been on the platform, it hasn't really changed at all. Sure, we might play different games, but the content still looks exactly the same, which is crazy because the tech that we use nowadays, the cameras, the microphones, the capture cards are all so much better. Like our content is a much higher quality than it was before, but we're just using this higher quality tech to do the same thing that we were doing before, just with a couple more pixels. So if I were to give any piece of advice to you, whoever's watching this video, regarding this problem, I would say when you see a new piece of tech, when you see something new released, the question you should ask yourself is, how can I use this new piece of tech to do something completely new? What innovations can it bring to the way I present myself on the internet, to my content? But unfortunately, the question that usually gets asked by most streamers is, how can I use this piece of tech to do what I'm already doing, but a little bit more conveniently? And I feel like that is the question that people are unfortunately going to ask about the Elgato Footswitch that came out today. See how I segued that into the product? See that? I thought that was smooth. And I need to acknowledge something, by the way. I know that that whole conversation was potentially a little bit too meta for a Footswitch. I get that. But this thought process came about while I was brainstorming ideas and uses for this Footswitch when I first opened it and it came in. And the first thing that came to mind is people are gonna see this and they're gonna immediately think Discord push to talk. And I admit, by the way, that was the first thing that I thought of as well. So here's what we're gonna do. There are 3 buttons on this. I'm gonna show the unboxing just after our little intro animation here. There are 3 buttons on this thing. Why don't I share 3 unique ideas and different ways to use this that might completely change your content? All right, let's do it. So here's something that's never happened before on this channel. I'm about to get paid to advertise something that's completely free for you. So big W all around. By now you guys know our new design sponsor, Visuals by Impulse, that premier design company that's created some of the greatest visuals on stream. You've seen these ones before. Well, they told me that they want to make your gaming setup look the best it can be. And they're giving away some of the most beautiful Stream Deck icons I've ever seen. So whether you want to go full weeb with the Sakura set of icons, or use the tactical set for a design inspired by your favorite shooter, or you just want a game of Pac-Man displaying when you're not using it, why not? It's free. And also just a bunch of other options. There's a good chance that VBI has a free design that looks better than what you're currently using. That's not meant to sound condescending. It's just VBI. You can either install them directly from the Stream Deck store or grab them from the VBI website. And each pack comes with hundreds, if not thousands of icons to choose from. And if you see anything else you like on their site, from widgets to overlays to alerts, just use code SENPAI at checkout to get 20% off. And there you go. Enjoy. Thanks for sponsoring the video, VBI. And one last thing, if you want to see me use this, I'm actually considering plugging it into my stream and getting creative with it and whatever. So if you want to watch my stream and see how I use it and ask some questions or whatever, feel free to jump over to I almost said Twitch. I've been streaming on YouTube for like 10 months now. I almost said Twitch. YouTube.com/HarrisHeller. Link to that also in the description down below. Cool, let's get to unboxing this thing. I want to tell you, by the way, this video is not sponsored by Elgato. They did send me the pedal, which by the way goes for $89. So I will be putting a real review into that and seeing what I think about it. However, this is kind of a product that has like zero real competition, so I can't like compare it to other things very well. I did buy like a cheap pedal because it's really the only thing that's available on Amazon, but it's not really a comparison, so we're not gonna do a comparison. I'm just gonna show you how it works. Let's unbox it, and then we're gonna talk about the 3 main ideas and unique ideas that I came up with that maybe you'll actually find it useful and potentially be interested in an $89 Footswitch. All right, let's crack this thing open. Instead of just like a regular box, you got like a pull tab to open. That was disappointing. There we go. Pedal, quick start guide. We have pedal middle stoppers, a spring set. You can see there's numbers here. Well, we'll pull this out. USB Type-C cable, Type-C to A. We've got middle stoppers. And then we got spring set 700, 1000, 1400, 2000. I assume these are all different tensions. So you can add more or less resistance to this thing. Let's pull it out. So just judging by the box, it looks like there are 3 different buttons on this thing. This is a beefy pedal, oh my goodness. Button in the middle, button on each side. And I'm assuming that you can change the tension of each one, or if you want to get rid of this middle one and make this just a 2-button thing without accidentally hitting the middle, you can actually throw stoppers in there. That's an interesting idea. I don't know if you can see this, punch in on this thing. It just shows the giant thing with 3 circles for buttons, and you control it the exact same way. So to get to these springs, you would unscrew all of these screws here, and then that would get you right to the springs down there. And it looks like by default, there are 2 springs in the middle for the middle one that are at 800, and the outer springs are at 1600, or you lock any of them with the stoppers. Easy peasy. You got some variety there. Let me try this out. Hold on, I wanna see how it feels on the foot. Would I even wanna change it? Can't imagine wanting to do it lighter. Like it's already pretty easy to press down. The only thing I can see wanting to change here is like the weight of my leg not easily pressing it down, because like you can't rest your foot on it without it clicking down. But it's on a hinge on the back, and so you can like rest your foot on the back side here and then just lean forward. The 2 side ones are bumped up a little bit higher, so it's really easy to hit these 2 and differentiate between the middle and the sides. I don't think you're gonna accidentally hit any of these buttons. So at the end of the unboxing, here are the 3 tension recommendations by Elgato, by the way, for like medium, soft, and hard. I ended up taking both 2,000 gram springs and just tossing them in that middle button. So that way the middle button's got a lot of tension on it. It's still not crazy, but I can rest my foot on it without worrying about it pressing automatically. And I think that's the play, if I'm being real with you. So there's not a lot to cover here. This is basically a 3-button Stream Deck that goes on the floor. So you can see as long as you have your Stream Deck app updated, you just click over here and there's Stream Deck pedal. So yeah, typical Stream Deck stuff, but there is one extra feature because this works a little bit less like a Stream Deck and more like the function buttons or the Stream Deck buttons, I'm not sure what they're called, on Corsair's keyboard. You know, they have like those 6 Stream Deck buttons on the side that don't have screens on it, just like these. The Footswitch doesn't have screens on it. So what you can do is you can activate the action bar, which I've placed on my regular Stream Deck here, and when I press it, this pops up in the corner, a nice little overlay in the corner of your screen that's not intruding on anything. And that way you can actually see and remember what the actions are. Because you might be using smart profiles and maybe you set different buttons for different apps. And so it changes, you need to be reminded of what they are. You can have that constantly reminding you of what every button is while you're using it. So if I were to set this now to a hotkey over here, you can see it updates over there on the little overlay. Elgato is also launching a Discord plugin for their Stream Deck software. So you can set your foot pedal to be mute, toggle mute and deafen. Push to talk is a little bit of a workaround because Discord doesn't have an actual API for push to talk. So it they did get it to work as push to talk, but just know if you're on like a push to talk only room, it's not gonna work properly. It's actually interesting. You can even go into this and choose your sensitivity. So at what point during the press of the button do you want it to actually trigger the action? Do you want it to be right as you start pressing it, or do you want it to be at the very bottom? I think I like it right where it was in the beginning, actually. Gotta push it all the way down, but don't have to push any real effort into it. Then now the most important question is, what can you do with it? Well, Scott and I sat down. It only took us a couple minutes to come up with 3 really unique ideas that will actually improve your content. First one, this is for you gamers out there. Set up some meme content during your gameplay. We use a lot of different camera angles and punch-ins and effects during our just chatting portions, but rarely do we do that during gameplay because your hands are taken up. If you're in the middle of a crazy play and you yell and scream, you can't really punch in because you're still in the middle of a fight. You can't take your hand off the mouse to hit the stream deck. Until now. I mean, not only could you do those punch-ins and zoom-ins, but you could set up a multi-action. So if something happens, you start screaming, it zooms in on your face and then starts to activate an instant replay to go back 3 seconds, show it in slow-mo, then zoom back up into real time. There are people who have done this and have made YouTube videos on how to do that. I recommend 𝘋𝘪𝘧𝘧𝘦𝘯𝘵's channel. He's done a whole step-by-step tutorial. Toss that on your Footswitch. That would make gameplay so much more fun to watch. Idea number 2. And this is actually the one that I'm going to use. This is gonna allow people to do standing content. So I actually have 2 standing positions here on my stream. I've got this camera up in the corner that I use for standing just chatting portions. And now what I can do is I can add some of those meme effects, punch-ins, or even if I wanted to attach some kind of chat message that I could spam with my foot, I could do that from there. I've also got a guitar rig set up over here that I'm still in the process of setting up, but now if I'm playing guitar, doing some loops, any of my performance stuff on stream where my hands are taken up and I'm standing, I can switch between cameras. I could even set one of these up as like a hotkey switch, so if I wanted to switch between 2 scenes, I'd only have to use 1 button for it. I could just hit the same button as a switcher. The last use case scenario is probably something that's gonna make the biggest impact, if not on my life, on Scott's life. And that's partially due to the feature I mentioned earlier with smart profiles, or at least just being able to switch profiles and not just use this for streaming, but also for editing. If you've ever edited a video before, you know that throwing in the initial footage and cutting it down to a manageable size and usually cutting out like 75% of the stuff in there is the most time-consuming, tedious process. And if you're hunched over the computer and using 2 hands on a keyboard with shortcuts, it can get exhausting. The very first thing we would do with this pedal is we'd set the middle button to be a blade. We'd set the left button to be trim start that cuts off everything before it in the specific reason. And we'd set the right button to be trim end and cut everything else on the end of it, so that we could lean back, relax, have 1 hand on the trackpad and do all the cutting with our feet. If I'm being real, I'm probably gonna just buy one of these for Scott. Make his life just a little bit easier. But keep in mind, by the way, this isn't meant to be like a huge ad for the Elgato Footswitch. Most of these things could be done on any Footswitch. Not all of them. Of course, you have the Elgato Stream Deck environment that gives you a handful of more tools to play with. I just thought I would use this new product as an opportunity to encourage you guys to be creative and step outside your comfort zones, try something new, explore new options. So I hope this helped. We found it interesting. Hope it inspires you. That last word might be overdoing it. I don't know if I'd call this channel inspiring, but I do hope it helps. And as always, happy streaming. Oh, and hit the like button, by the way. If you're here, if you're at the end of the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. You obviously enjoyed the video, so hit the like button. Thanks. See ya.